success stories of the 1990s. Around the turn of the decade, a band emerged from Limerick on the west coast of Ireland called the Cranberry Sauce. By the time of their debut album, everybody else was doing it, so why can't we? They called themselves the Cranberries. Since then, one other album. It's called No Need to Argue. Both those albums between them have sold over 12 million copies. The thing about the success of the Cranberries that may be different to other bands who may seem to be equally successful is this. They don't just sell loads of concert tickets and loads of albums in Europe and America, here and there. They sell them everywhere. Okay, Noel, or Dolores, whichever, I don't mind. How's the tour going so far?
Great. Super.
I mean, it's two tours really, isn't it, in some ways? I mean, on one, you don't have the onus on you. On the other, you do. Like, supporting REM is one thing. Is there a huge difference between doing that and doing the other thing, i.e. Cranberries at the top of the bill, if you like?
Yeah, I think so. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because it's variation. Like, sometimes with REM, it's like you just go on stage and rock out. Whereas with our show, it's a little bit more theatrical, you know. It's like there's a stage set and there's like the grand entree and there's a point in the gig where I go off stage and change and it just breaks it up and makes it a little bit more interesting, but just simple things, you know.
I think doing our own gigs is kind of much easier because it's your own crowd, you know, your own audience is there to see you, like, just you alone, like, and but I suppose it's good to do the REM show as well because it's only an hour set and it gives us a bit of a break, like, between tour, like, it makes it a bit easier for us, right?
In other words, the pressure isn't on you.
Yeah, exactly, like,
So. But by the same token, I mean, Wembley Arena, there must be something about that's a real sort of new pinnacle for the Cranberries, or is it?
Yeah. Just kind of taking it on a stride. You think about it too much, you get all freaked out and nervous, so it's kind of wait to get down there and have a look around and see what happens.
You're trying something different. I mean, Cranberries are the Cranberries before of you. You're going to be doing something with Pavarotti now. How does that scare you? Does it frighten you? Does it excite you?
Excites me, yeah. Totally excited about it.
Without the guys there, like, what are you going to be doing?
He's going to come along to hang out and mind me and David with me. And we're going to do the Ave Maria together.
All right.
And I think that night, I think I'm going to be singing with Simon and LeBron as well. We're going to do, I think we're going to do, you know that song, Don't Save a Prayer or Save a Prayer?
Oh yeah, Save a Prayer, yeah.
I used to like that when I was a kid.
Right.
But it's just going to be a bit of fun and it's a very good cause. It's like for the war child thing as well, you know?
Yeah. The idea, like, of you singing a song like that, people would say that's second nature to you. Like, you've done that before.
Yeah.
Like, you did that as a child.
It really excites me because it's something I love doing, and, you know, it's like my career is taken off with the Cranberries, you know, with the rock and roll thing. But still, I do have a great passion for that type of singing. It's more restricted and it's more naked.
Yeah.
You know, there's no band covering you up when you make
Well,
music.
since that had been in some ways what you were, Dolores, what made you want to go and sort of hook up with a bunch of rock and rollers from Limerick?
I suppose, you know, I liked doing that and it was great, but it was too limited. You know, it was like all these boundaries, expressive boundaries. You couldn't just do what you loved. And sometimes it just got like too, like your hands are by your side and everybody's staring at you.
Sure.
And I wanted to go, wow, you know, but I couldn't, because if you do that in the church, everybody would be like, what's she doing? She's not singing off the altar anymore now. You know, it wouldn't be taken too kindly to, you know. It's not on. You have to kind of keep yourself a little bit quiet in churches and whatever, you know. So I just wanted kind of to be more expressive in myself.
Well, when you were back, Noel, at the beginning of the decade in Limerick as the Cranberry Sauce, you had another singer. It was a male singer. And the kind of song that you were writing, did you think that this was wrong? You needed a female singer to give full justice to these songs?
But when we had the guy that was singing with us, he was just writing everything because we couldn't play at all then.
Yeah.
So it was just a completely different situation. And we knew, all of us knew that, it was the thing we were doing for a while, and that was it. So it wasn't until that guy left, and then we just had bits and pieces, or, just music kind of there, but there was no structure to it or anything, and we kind of needed somebody that would just come in and glue the whole thing together. So, and it was through that guy that we met Dolores then, about 3 months after he left it. So.
And when Dolores came in, I mean, what did you expect? What did you see? You saw, what, a tomboy? You saw a fantastic sort of female diva? What was it? You just saw somebody who says, yeah, here, take this, take it home, come back in a week and see what you can do with it?
Yeah, well, Dolores sang for us the first day, and obviously it was like, immediately we knew, like, because when the guy said, he met a girl that can sing, was coming up, we didn't expect, anyone amazing to come in, but everyone just shut up straight away and knew, you know.
And this business then, Dolores, of not having to keep your hands by your sides and get that bit out, did you see that in them with the music they gave you? And you said, yeah, I can sort of now rock out of it.
You know, I've been writing stuff since I was about 10, like pop songs kind of thing, you know. And I'm sure, like, I used to listen to Duran Duran and all that stuff growing up, you know. But I really wanted to be able to sing and concentrate on singing. So the great idea of having a guitar player, a bass player and a drummer, that was the ultimate thing. And eventually then maybe I'd play piano or keys, but first of all I'd learn how to sing with a band, perform, actually stand there and feel comfortable. And it took me about a year and a half to actually start to feel comfortable. And then after another year I started playing guitar, and then after another year I played keyboards and piano and stuff now with the band. So just all developed and I just took it one step at a time, you know.
Do you acknowledge a serious debt then to the way you were brought up in the church in terms of singing, etc.? Or is that just part of your past? That's just what I did.
Yeah, it's just the way I was brought up. I don't think I owe anybody anything, you know. I could have ended up a junkie if I liked. I could have started taking cocaine when I was 16 or whatever, and I didn't, you know. You know, you don't owe anything to anybody really, I think, except probably you owe a lot to your parents, I think, because they're the ones who kind of psychologically make you what you are when you're 17, 18, you know. And you go out there with a certain amount of strength in your head about yourself, you know, and you're either going to be weak and fall into things or be strong and say, look, you're going to laugh at me, but this is me, get over it, you know, I'm going to be here if you like me, come back, you know. And I've seen teenagers, like, and young people kind of go for the peer pressure thing, but I think if I just owe anything to anybody, it would be my parents, really.
Well, then what about the opening track on the second album, No Need to Argue, Ode to My Family? I mean, is there an element of that where you might feel that you're missing part of growing up with them?
Yeah, you know, I think every adult, like, from time to time, you know, you find yourself sitting down, you might be pickled drunk or something, and you might be acting like a kid or something. I mean, people like to escape from reality, from pressures. I think Ode to My Family was just about trying to escape from the pressures of reality and just be a kid again.
Do you think in one way the way you have learned on the road is that there is a huge business involved with the music thing, which is actually a pain in the neck?
Yeah, there's an awful lot that you don't realise is involved. I think we learned pretty much the first couple of years. It was a lot different than what we expected. But as long as you got the right people on your side, I mean, it shouldn't interfere with the fact of what you're doing, you know.
Do you think it's important that before you did anything at all, really, there was the four of you together? Like, you never had to put an ad in the newspaper saying bass player wants.
Yeah.
The four of you against the world, if you like, or against the press, if it happens to be, or the four of you just doing it. Is that important to you?
It is very important, yeah. I mean, anytime there's been any hassle or any problem, the four of us really pulled together and kind of supported each other and gotten through it. So that is definitely very important.
There has been pressure, surely. One of them says the management side of things. Was that something brand new to you, the whole idea that music isn't just making music, it's a business?
Yeah, it was something new, but I mean, you know, you have to kind of get involved in it, like, because if you don't, you can't expect to sit there and just be a stupid moron and have a great career. I mean, we all know that, like, everybody from Madonna to Elton John to you name them, they all have their heads well screwed on, and they all make their own decisions. But I mean, then you have other bands who kind of put their lives and careers in other people's hands, and when it all goes terribly wrong, it's like they're going, well, we had no control on what's going on, but at least we know what's going on. Everything we have, you know, every day, like we have paperwork sent to the band all the time, and we check it out, you know, on different things like record sales and on just finance. You have to just get into that, you know, because we've just been ripped off once big time before, and we don't want it to happen again, you know, because it's a very sad feeling when you're there like a fool, singing your butt off and killing yourself traveling around, and, you know, you realize that someone's screwing you. I mean, you just don't want that to happen. It's not good for your head, and it just shouldn't happen to people, you know.
Well, what about the other thing you had to learn right out in the public eye, people screwing you in terms of, say, the press? Do you find they just have their own agenda? And do you find now that you've reached the point where it doesn't really matter what the press writes, because it's only one small part of the world, if you like? Or does it annoy you, some of the things?
No, I think we look at it now that they'll put you on the front cover, and then they'll, you know, completely give you a really hard time inside, and it's just that they're using it to sell their
magazine, obviously, you know.
No, it's like they couldn't care less about you, and I think they know as well that we don't need them. You know, it's like, put them on, we sell a few more copies.
It doesn't really happen, actually, strangely enough. The only place it really happens really roughly is England and Ireland, we find on a global scale, because we've just been around the planet, we've been everywhere except Africa, and we're going to go there next year. But it's always when you come back to the old start, the UK and Ireland, that you get the hardest time in the media. I think it's kind of like a begrudging, jealous thing. Maybe they're pissed off that you got up and you worked your ass off and you went all over the place and you're big all around the world. And maybe they're just kind of like, well, they're a load of crap anyway, that band there, but it works. And it's like they just totally contradict themselves in issues and stuff, you know.
When you look back at a gig like, say, Ruby's in Limerick, 60 people, like, you know, Dolores with her back to the audience, etc. Can you remember those gigs?
Yeah. Remember it well.
I bet you had more stage fright then.
Oh yeah.
Than you do now.
Yeah. I wasn't able to handle it back then. It's getting sick and everything before I go on stage.
Really?
Couldn't deal with it.
Well, one of the reasons when I got sick is you had songs like My Granny's Band and the Bands in the Lourdes. Do you remember that one? Or how about Throw Me Down the Big Stairs or Good Morning God? Who was responsible for those songs? I mean, it's Noel does a lot of the stuff.
Well, back then Noel didn't write the music. It was the guy that was singing with us at the time. Like, and Noel had a few songs they wrote together, but he wasn't confident like to bring them out and say like, I've got some. Basically, so it was not him really, like, you know. And we never really took it serious either, like, you know, it was only something on the side at the time. It's kind of a joke, really, like, you know, so. You have it really, like.
When you got married in Ireland, was Don quite shocked in some ways, in a nice way, as to how, like, seriously people in Ireland took marriage? In other words, the way it should have been taken.
Yeah, that was nice, you know, because he thinks it's so amazing. It's like, that is so cool, he says, you know, it's like, in, you know, the way, like in Canada and in America, people get married a few times, and it's not as serious, but like in Ireland, of course, it's so serious, and such a big ordeal. And he said, like, that's like one of the reasons that he really wanted to go into the church and get married there in the church, you know. Because I suppose, you know, when you live in an environment where people take it very lightly, maybe you get sick of that attitude and you want to take it seriously. You know?
But what about you, Noel? I mean, like, when you look upon, like, when Dolores got married, the place was full of all this knickers business, etc. Do you just sit there and just laugh, or do you sit there and go, what? Or you sit there and just say, let's get on to the next gig, this is what happens now?
You have to laugh, you know. It's like,
it was very funny.
It's hysterical, you know.
I just think most of the people that commentated on it probably are frustrated individuals who don't have enough sexual experiences in their lives. You know, I just think, like, there's a lot of love out there, and people do need to go out and make love and, you know, whatever. But I mean, it's like, I just think most of the people who are kind of pointing the finger are probably just really frustrated. Like, they probably really need to get laid big time.
Fair enough. Okay, well, an obvious question then is, what's it like having a husband on the tour now who's not actually working with the band in the same way as he was, as production manager or something? He's just with you on the tour. Is it good to have that? Or, like, do you need to have that, I don't know, your own space, if you like, with your husband?
Yeah, it's really good. I suppose I can't see how people cope, you know, being married and being on the road, you know. Usually they go to, you know, stripper clubs or whatever when they get frustrated, but I don't see the point in getting married if you're not going to be with a person and you're going to be fooling around out when you're out on the road, you know. We said, like, if we're going to get married, we're going to be together, and that's it.
Like, do you remember your first gig? You visited back to the audience all the time?
I remember our first gig in Cruises, yeah. And I just remember, like, going on stage and being really embarrassed and singing 6 songs, and, you know, it was like I was used to seeing show bands, you know, I go to, like, show bands with my parents, like waltzes and stuff. So I was totally into this. Next little number now, folks, is called She'll Be Coming Over the Mountain and Creek. You know, that whole scene, like, I hadn't a clue about, like, you know, the whole rock and roll thing, and I think that kind of stood to me because then I didn't want to be like any other band. I'm just going to be Dolores, and it worked, you know.
Do you think in some ways it's fair to say that you guys have changed less than Dolores over the last few years? She's changed more.
Yeah, I think Dolores had a lot more pressure.
That's what I mean.
You know, than we have had. Yeah, it's like...
She's had no choice.
Yeah, you know, it's like... I think, like, people want Dolores to be a lot different, you know, than we are for some reason. Because you pick up any paper and there's like, there's some bit of scandal in there about her. So it's like, to us, we're still pretty much the same. It's just the attention to people around us has changed more. You know, it's like people's attitudes towards you is
I think a lot of it boils down to being female as well.
Yeah.
I think there's an awful lot of chauvinism and sexism.
Well, females fronting a band of three blokes, I mean, you're going to get the attention. If you start selling 10 million albums.
And there's so much chauvinism, it's kind of like if you're an intelligent woman and you've got a beautiful voice, there's all these stupid people who don't know how to handle you because they're used to kind of, you know, the way in London you've this scene, you've got all these girls who talk about their sexuality and their sex lives 24 hours a day and they can't sing. But they go to the trendy places and they go out with the guy in the other band that's popular in London, all that scene, you know. And it's like, I'm not a part of that, and I got my own life, and I'm married, and I'm a happy woman, and I write songs because I love writing songs and I love singing. It's very simple. It's just that a lot of guys have big problems with it, like, and they're like, oh, you know, she's weird, you know, she's strange. And they start writing crap then about you, you know, it's like, so... I just think it's kind of a bit sexist towards women, very sexist towards women, actually.
They say you're the third or fourth richest woman in Britain this year. And first of all, you're not British. And secondly, how will they know it's the year? I mean, like, they're talking about since in the last 6 months. They're talking about the year 1995.
Yeah.
How the hell do they know what your money is? Do you know what your money is?
I have no idea because I haven't been at home with my accountant long enough to go over my financial status. And I do know that it takes a long time to come through, you know. So I think they're really bluffing. And they just they like to create glamour and excitement, the media do. I mean, it's like some people who have no stories just create stories. I mean, they've got to write something. You've got to bring something into your editor at the end of the week, you know. So you might as well make something up, I suppose.
Okay, well then what about like the last time, like, things that just happen outside your control in some way? Like I said, there's 2 movies out at the moment with Cranberries music in it, and you didn't even know about it. That's just the way it goes. That's just fine. We just do our own music, play our own gigs, and that's it.
Yeah, that's basically the way. The most important thing to us is to keep writing and just keep doing what we love doing, which is like writing songs, doing gigs, making albums, and having fun.
What about the dance version of Zombie? Top 20 hit in Britain. What do you think of it?
I saw it on TV. I don't really think much of it, really. It's like, it just came across kind of strange because it's a song about child murder, it's a song about a child's life being taken. And you just see this video that's all glamorous, and I just saw a little bit of clip for about 3 seconds, and it looked glitzy and glamorous, and it seemed to have nothing to do with the topic, except that somebody was bringing it out because they wanted to get maybe a bit of attention, and it was such a big hit all over Europe that it got them attention. I mean, people are entitled to do what they like, but I wouldn't be a fan of that version myself, to be honest.
So in other words, would you be annoyed in some ways then that you have something to say in that song, and all of what you're saying is just squeezed right out of it, and just the shell is left?
Yeah, it can be pretty hurtful, you know. It can be like you're kicking the butt, you know, when you write something and you feel really passionate about it. And you don't really, the strange thing was, you don't really have any say. You know, if they don't alter the lyrics or the actual chords or whatever, there is no problem. At the end of the day, then they don't make any finance out of it. So you wonder why they do it. They obviously just do it for the attention. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of annoying, I suppose. I hope it doesn't happen too much anymore.
Right, And even though you've been married now just over a year, do you still get proposals from fans?
I just haven't been seeing much of the fans now lately, you know. You do get the I love you thing a lot, like, but they don't say, will you marry me as much now. Maybe they know I'm gone off the shelf now.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm off the market.
Oh, well, listen, that's a good way to end. Yeah. Dolores, thank you very much indeed, and the same to yourself there, Noel. Thanks a million for talking to us.
You're welcome.